Welcome to The Thin Line, the podcast for first responders and veterans. We are so glad that you are here and excited that you could join us. The Thin Line podcast is rated explicit and viewer-listener discretion is advised, as some topics may trigger suppressed or repressed memories or experiences. The views expressed on The Thin Line are unique to the speaker's personal experiences and circumstances and do not reflect the views of any specific broadcast media or platform or any specific agency. But for now, just relax, take a deep breath, and connect to this episode of The Thin Line.
Good evening, the Thin Line crew. It is I, Messy Jessie, coming on here with a wonderful full episode. And I'm here with my wonderful Doc and Colleen. Colleen, who do we have with us tonight?
Well, I'm really excited to introduce Darren Jernigan. And I know Darren through a coworker of mine. And Darren is involved in search and rescue and has done phenomenal work and in the Grand Tetons, and is also a physical therapist and still does backcountry involved in search and rescue. And we're going to have a phenomenal episode because it's so interesting in search and rescue and where you were specifically, because it is wild and rugged country out there. And we would love for you to explain how you got involved and what it entails. And we're just going to let you have the floor, and we'll ask you questions as you're going along.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you, Colleen. And thank you for having me here. I really, really appreciate it. You know, the one thing that really piqued my interest when we spoke, when you hashed the idea, hey, would you consider coming on the podcast, was just the idea of the wounds that first responders, that was the conversation that we had, you know, that you carry through a career of, you know, really truly dealing with a fair amount of death and destruction, depending on, you know, where you worked or the kind of work that you did. And so I'm excited today actually to kind of put this out in the open, talk about it, because I think it's extremely important to talk about some of the things that my particular team evolved into doing that helped us to cope with some of the really tragic things that we saw and experienced. So I appreciate you having me on the episode. I guess I'll just let people know my name's Darren Jernigan. My friends call me DJ. And I've been a lifelong athlete. I'm a climber and a mountaineer. I'm a professor currently at Idaho State University. And I teach physical therapy. And I'm also I'm a BLS instructor for CPR and wilderness first aid, and I'm an EMT with a wilderness certification. And what's really interesting is in my career was the evolution of my hands-on skills as a PT. And Doc, you would be interested in this, but it's the integration of those advanced hands-on skills into an EMT.
Wow.
So, you know, my ability to, you know, assess all kinds of different, you know, especially orthopedic injuries, but that doesn't mean, you know, not neurological ones as well. But so I had this kind of different skill set that most of my colleagues that were other climbing rangers didn't have, you know, just based on that.
On your assessment, your initial assessments coming up on any type of accident, especially out in the wilderness, I would be amazed on how the two would integrate as far as a physical therapist and an EMT to be able to assess whether it's orthopedic, whether it's muscular, or how would that work out in the field, out in the wilderness?
Well, I mean, what's really interesting is, and you know, we were offline at the beginning. I told you that I'm part of an initiative currently on a national scale to, and did you work in the public health service in corrections or?
It was the state service for
Okay.
the California Department of Corrections. Before that, it was private with a private ambulance company. I'll do a shameless plug in. It was for the Delano Ambulance Company out of Kern County. And I also worked for Stevens and Paletti Ambulance in Hollister, California.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, where we're kind of going with the conversation, it's pertinent. Physical therapists are standalone providers of care, and so I could see someone right off the street, and so I have a different set of practice phenomena that I can employ depending on the state that I live in.
Is it kind of like the protocols that the EMTs use, or?
Yes, it's so it would be, depending on the state, some of the regulations are, specific to each state, whatever. But in general, it's National Registry EMT, and I'm a PT, and so we're under the practice acts of those two professions, and that's the area that I operated in. The really cool thing for me was in Grand Teton National Park, the medical control oversight were two really close friends of mine. They were close friends of the ranger cadre in Grand Teton National Park. So they knew me and they knew how to use me in certain situations where I would communicate with them on a scene in detail that, a regular EMT or even a paramedic couldn't really communicate.
Right.
So that was really cool. It was this value added kind of force multiplier person. And that's part of this idea that me and several colleagues have throughout the country. There's four of us in this particular initiative, and it's called the Wilderness Physical Therapy Educators. And I'll share the website with you later.
Please do.
It's bringing this kind of triangulation of skill to the forefront in places like the public health system or public health service, or even the state health service.
Would you mind talking a little bit about the initiative and the different providers that are involved and the services that are provided through this initiative?
Well, right now, it's this wilderness physical therapy phenomena is in its infant stages, and there are opportunities for people like I was in Grand Teton National Park as a National Park Service ranger, for a position to be flown and evolve into a position where I get paid as an EMT PT.
Wow.
But you could see where this would work really well, and it's already been demonstrated in the military model, where PTs and OTs go into the austere environments and treat people in locales, so you can see the.
I do, even as a combat medic, there were a lot of OT scenarios where we would perform minor surgery out in the field, and I can imagine just even with the physical therapy portion of EMT, it would just be tremendously needed.
And well, it makes sense too. You think, well, so the military model is really what we're using to roll out, because it's been efficient and it works. The PT is usually if it's a musculoskeletal injury,
mm-hmm.
The PT is the first person that sees the injured person, not the doctor. The PT orders films and does other things, and that's a different model than what you see currently a physical therapist doing. And so the thing is what you can recognize is, let's say you're, in some sort of war theater and being able to take a PT to some place to keep somebody in the game
Yeah.
by doing certain interventions, that's a
Absolutely.
game changer. It
Absolutely.
could
Yeah.
save lives.
Yeah.
But I want you to spin this now into this idea, and I think you guys will be interested in this because it's something that we live with, but it's wildland fire. And I want you to think about, well, what if there was a PT, EMT, that was embedded in either a fire camp or out with a hot shot crew or people that were deployed, and you were there to, you were a firefighter, so you could fight fire, but you worked to keep people safe, right, and functioning in the field. Because what ends up happening is, well, imagine it, the cost of bringing somebody out of some remote site with a helicopter, it costs money, and it's dangerous too. And so you can start to see, well, gosh, this kind of makes some sense, you know.
You could start seeing the value in that, just in the savings otherwise of not having one.
Right.
Yeah. So it saves money. But, things like this take time. You don't just snap your finger and people say, well, oh, yeah, let's do this. Let's fund that, And so currently we have a team of physical therapists that are embedded in Grand Teton National Park as voluntary, they're volunteers in park doing physical therapy with the different work groups in Grand Teton National Park. And we're doing it, we're supporting this effort to show what positive effects, and you know as well as I do, it all comes down to money. But where we can start to equate these interventions and contacts with cost savings.
Yeah.
And so you think about lost days of work, workman's comp claims, and man, people's ears perk up, when you
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And so
absolutely. Not to interrupt, but I could just imagine somebody out in fire camp, let's just say, has a minor sprain. And without a physical therapist over there, you're right. They're going to have to fly this person out. This is going to be at least 2 weeks before you start seeing doctors, start seeing this, and not to mention all the claims and everything else. But if they had a PT, EMT on site where you can, give him whatever therapy he may need on site and get him back going within a couple of days, I couldn't even fathom the amount of savings. And not just that, but just the what's the word I'm looking for? Just I'm totally drew a blank, but it would just be amazing to have a PT on board like that.
You know what's interesting? I mean, and Colleen, you've been around a lot of fire folks, and so Jesse, I don't know your background, but
Amazing goes back there.
But as it relates to wildland fire, it's people's livelihood. And so if you get hurt, what the culture would be that I'm going to stick it out, man, because I can't lose my paycheck. Right. And so that's exactly what you're saying. We could potentially keep someone in the game.
Right.
With a short, maybe hiatus, maybe no hiatus at all, from being actually on the fire line, doing something productive in the fire versus having to leave. But you can start to see the cultural breakdown that has to happen because you couldn't really admit that you were hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you start to see the weirdness that kind of can be created based on that kind of that need, because this is a person's seasonal livelihood. Everything depends upon it. And so I can't be hurt, Anyway, it's an interesting conversation, and I'm really glad that we kind of started off this conversation with this. It's kind of the culmination of my career, to be honest, is the blending of these two things. And it's really intriguing to me. And I think, and I appreciate that you, at least on first blush, find value in it,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I can see that. I mean, I see these guys every single day. Well, when they're not on an active fire, they're in the office, right? And you see these guys, and there's a lot of it's like in anything like this, any law enforcement, anything else, you suck it up and you keep working. And I've seen guys come in and they've had to have back surgery because they sucked it up for so long, and it was just became so much for them to handle. And you're going to get hurt out there. It's not if it's
Yeah, and you hit it on the head. I mean, it's a paradigm shift, I think, where if you had the resource and you knew it was a safe place to go,
right.
to have someone help you, it just takes time for that culture to evolve.
Yeah.
Instead of sucking it up and then just beating yourself to death and then ending up with a life-changing injury,
Yep.
Anyway, it's
I
to think about.
Totally see the value of this, and I hope that maybe you can get somewhere with this, because it's I can see on these large fires where people are staged for weeks at a time, and sometimes for months until the snow flies to put these fires out. All you can do is try to stop them from burning a town down, but they're going a different, you just have to let them burn. But I can see the value of having this embedded in those camps, because somebody's going to get hurt every single day. Maybe not seriously, but something that needs medical attention.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think about the heat and what they have to deal with, and are they really staying hydrated? Are they really, I think that having, this expertise in the camps, so that way they can double check everybody. Hey, are you staying hydrated? Are you,
Yeah.
did you get bit by a tick or a bee, or,
And that's one of the things, Jesse, is that, a physical therapist has an expertise in human performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and when you're out there you're staked out for 2 weeks working, daylight to dark.
On unsteady terrain and heavy equipment.
Yeah.
I could imagine. I see a physical therapist on a regular basis, and the knowledge that the PTs have just with the muscular system on how the body works, even just walking. Just your knowledge would be invaluable on site. That would just, I could see this. Is there any possible funding or grant writers at this point, or is this still, like you said, in the beginning stages of?
It is. I'm going to say we're going to write for a grant in the very near future. We have presented this. I guess I'll plug myself too. I'm shameless, I guess, but I was recently on the cover of the American Physical Therapy Association magazine.
That's where I recognize you.
And anyway, from my time in Grand Teton National Park, and it was about physical therapists in unusual places, and doing unusual therapy, and this whole phenomena is in an upswell, and so we're putting on some courses that have been well received. We did one in Pocatello last year. We're getting ready to do another one this September. We did one in South Carolina this winter. And so, man, it's starting to really happen.
Wow.
And so, Doc, yes to all,
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Speaking of unstable terrain, I myself will not see myself climbing anything. So kudos to you. Not that I'm, anyway. My question is, what does it take? Like if somebody, a younger generation is like, hey, I want to be like that. I want to be like DJ. What does it take to be?
Well,
obviously,
I don't think anybody wants to be just like me. That's a scary proposition. However, it just takes time. it's like anything, and each one of you has, various passions that you have pursued in your life, and they don't come like that. I mean, it's about finding someone, Jesse, that would be an appropriate mentor. I'm going to say I know Doc certainly had somebody that was some sort of paramedic person that said you'd be. I think, Doc, I think you'd be good at that. Or same with you, Colleen. People that have mentored us, but it just takes time. And um, I mean, I have a doctoral degree in physical therapy, and it takes time to get. So there's no real shortcut. For you to be interested in wilderness physical therapy, now that opens this other door, though, to this, needing to have some EMS skill, whether that be like wilderness first aid or being a wilderness first responder or an EMT. Where this goes to is, there's a lot of push currently, Jesse, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of diverging from that question,
No,
but
you're good.
where physical therapists are taking people into the wilderness and treating people, let's say at a local rock climbing crag. It's been shown that people with Parkinson's disease really do well with the body movement and sequencing of rock climbing as a treatment. But the thing is, what you can see is, what if somebody got hurt while they were out there getting to the crag or climbing? You have to have someone that has some EMS skill to to take care of the situation, the emergent situation. So that's kind of a hand in glove. You got to have the physical therapist skills, but you got to have the EMS skills too to take people out there safely. And I guess you also have to have some skill in austere environments, whichever one you are taking people to, whether it's the desert or the beach or the mountains or whatever. Does that make some sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess it's anything that's worth having is worth putting your head on and, chipping away at it. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and I would say, as a longtime educator, being a mentor to young people to help them keep their head down, and encourage them. That's a really cool thing. And, to be first responders, those kinds of things. It's really rewarding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How did you get involved with search and rescue?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, I guess. I came to Idaho State University in 1984, and I ran track at Idaho State back in the day. And when my track career ended, I was a pretty intense person. I'm pretty laid back now, but I was pretty intense back then. And when I stopped competing, I didn't even know what to do with myself, And guess what? I've always been intrigued with the mountains. I always walked in the hills and bagged peaks when I was a kid, and I turned all that angst into rock climbing and mountaineering, and I ruined a lot of relationships during that period trying to, climb a lot. But that's how I evolved into, and it was a serendipitous trip to the Tetons where we realized, me and my climbing partner, that there are people that get paid to be climbing rangers and climb the mountains in the Tetons. And we're like, I want to do that. And so that's really kind of the way it happened. Very
cool.
Turning your passion into a paycheck.
It's true. And in fact, that's what we kind of say with wilderness physical therapy. It's your passion plus your profession.
Yeah.
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 So what are the more memorable rescues that you've been on?
Out of my head, Coley. You got to stay out of my head.
Wow.
I was going to say, what's the most gnarliest climb that you had to do?
It's like it's just it's so crazy because so many people get in trouble up there.
Yeah.
like constantly.
It's
Bears.
I mean, yeah, there's, lions and tigers and bears and
Oh my.
really, really crazy terrain. There are a lot of really interesting stories that I could tell. I'll give you kind of a snippet of a few. The first person that I ever saw that was deceased, and I'm going to say in the field, was my first season in Grand Teton National Park, and it was a young man, 19 years old, that tomahawked about 2,000 feet down a mountainside. And I mean, I'd never seen someone deceased in a place that I found sanctuary, so there was a real, that kind of rocked me some. I was like, whoa, it's a young kid, that feels ugly, in and of itself, but I was like, man, I really like climbing this mountain, but so you kind of internalize that piece of it, like, and gosh, after my 20-year career, man, that's right where that guy died. That's where that other guy died.
Oh,
This is where that guy died, and so there's a lot of that that goes on, through time. And it's, one season, there were like 7 fatalities.
yikes.
That's a lot of fatalities, man. And people out doing stuff that I love to do.
Yeah.
So, you have to take time, I guess, to have that rest in your soul, in your mind, But a particular SAR, there's a couple I've been thinking about, because I knew Colleen was going to make me tell a couple stories, but Jesse beat her to the punch. But
It's
one
normal.
it was actually a friend of our little community of rangers and guides, and young woman fell to her death, and her partner basically watched her do it, and so that's pretty traumatic. And me and another ranger were dispatched to intercept and go and get to this particular person, because they were stranded, basically. She was stranded. It was a young lady, and it was her and her partner, who was a close friend of our little community. So that struck home. It's it's when it's somebody it's a whole nother layer of emotionalism, but I do remember getting to her. We had to climb to get to this particular person, and I just remember the embrace that me and my partner gave her. And I know people that are first responders can understand this, but it was one of the coolest hugs that I've ever given,
Wow. Yeah.
And
wow.
yeah, and I don't mean to get too into it, but I it affected me. It still affects me. When I think about it right now, it's just like, it makes my heart really heavy. I go back to that moment in time.
How do you get past that, DJ? I mean, how do you have, maybe somebody's struggling with this in their line of work right now, and they don't know how to get past it? What worked for you?
That's a really great question, because I came with, I have a cadre of people that I worked with over 20 years, and several of them left the profession based on the experiences that they had. Things that happened, things that they experienced. I know it wouldn't be something that someone would say overtly, like, that's why I left, but it's a two, and I'm going to say they struggle to be able to cope and to process what they witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
And so before I tell you the answer of what I think it is, I got to tell you another story, because
Okay.
it was a story where a close friend of my own died.
Hmm.
He fell to his death. And I myself and some colleagues put him in a body bag.
Mm.
And that it completely rocked my world in a fashion that it damaged me for sure. And I wasn't sure I could continue, to be honest.
Oh.
However, I was able to, and through time, was able to process it. But within Grand Teton National Park, it was about that time that we had someone that was trained in critical stress debriefment.
Very good. Yeah.
And so I think having those opportunities to engage someone that could lead folks through the grief of some of these experiences is really helpful. I think having a cadre of comrades too is really, really important, because for me, it was me and another ranger who's a very close friend of mine. We got to our friend. He was our mutual friend together. We were shoulder to shoulder when we saw him. And for about 2 or 3 years, we made a pact. Whenever you're thinking about it, when you find yourself there again, pick up the phone. Don't hesitate. Don't ask. Just pick it up and say, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that simple thing was probably the best damn medicine to help get us through that period of time of letting go of this really close friend of ours, and letting us kind of shed that pain and grief,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Having a support system that
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I mean, as hard as it is to have somebody experience that also with his friend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But having that shared experience was probably incredibly beneficial.
Sure. And we're still really close friends today.
Good.
Yeah. And so I think having some sort of construct of people on your team, I think, or your organization that you can communicate with, I think is extremely important. And having someone that can facilitate those feelings. And
Yeah.
so, and I think part of it too is recognizing that all these really weird feelings that first responders go through after trauma like that, they're normal feelings.
Yeah.
They're weird. They're not things that we normally think about, but I hate to say this, I don't mean for this to be gruesome, but I would just wake up with my friend's face, as I discovered him, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for long time. But through time, I figured out it's just a feeling. I have to understand it's okay. I'm not crazy. I would call my friend, Marty. and so we would walk ourselves through it. And like I said, I thought maybe it was the end of me. I wasn't even sure I could climb again, to be quite honest, after that.
Oh, wow.
It left that kind of a mark on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think the public has an image of what you're doing in search and rescue, and in the particular place you're doing it in, that, and our first responders everywhere, that you guys are somehow Superman, and
Sure.
void of feelings, and you're just robotic, and you just go to the next call, and that's not it at all. You're taking that home with you every night, and getting through that and helping each other through that's critical. And
Right.
Yeah.
That I will say this, that the older that I got, it's not that I became callous, because I didn't.
Right.
But I learned how to cope.
Mm-hmm.
But it took time. It took a long time actually to cope.
So, if you don't mind, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your most difficult moments with us.
Sure.
But if you could get one word of advice to a first responder out there, or someone in your field of work, what advice would you give them on their first traumatic event?
Don't suffer it alone. Don't bottle it up. That's the worst thing you can do. Like I told you, I had some colleagues that I'm not sure that they had the outlets that they needed to process the things that happened to them. And I'm going to say there's maybe a reason that they left,
And with a lot of first responders, and I remember back in the day, there was a lot of machismo. There was a lot of
Sure.
tough as nails. I don't have to share. I got this. And unfortunately, the turnover rate pretty much pointed those people out really fast.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, so
Yeah. It's fascinating to me. It seemed like the more vulnerable that I became, the tougher I was.
Mm.
And I know that sounds,
in counseling, in addictions, we have a saying is the more power you give to your addiction, the ultimate power that I am nothing. If I try to do this on my own, my addiction will overtake me. The more, what's the word I'm looking for? The more you give into it, the more powerful you are.
Right.
Because you take every precaution, and you share, and you talk, and you call your support. And that's.
Yeah. I appreciate that much.
I find it kind of fascinating, DJ, that it's like the strange dichotomy of being in one of the world's most beautiful places,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing some of the worst things you can experience, and
Sure.
seeing people at their worst or gone. And then you turn around and you're like, God, it's breathtaking up here. I mean, you have this like split going on in your head about this is one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and I'm dealing with tragedy constantly. That's just, I don't know how you.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah. It's a little strange.
It's crazy because
I watch a lot of.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Jesse, go ahead.
We always talk over each other. Sorry. I'm just thinking that with that unfortunate experiences and that experience, I think you take that as well as an education. If you really think about it, you educate, the crew that you work with, and you also educate future climbers or future we have to think we take a tragedy and take it as as a healing moment for somebody else, as well as an education moment for somebody else. I think we got to take that as well.
Well, that's one thing we did, and we took very seriously as a climbing ranger, is we tried to learn from everyone's mistakes, and it was our duty actually to point out and to find maybe what a root cause was. It a failure of this or a decision to do this versus that, and then pass that along, so.
Yeah, I do watch a lot of documentaries on climbing. I guess I was a mountaineer in my last life because I watch everything I can. It's crazy. I'm so fascinated by the concept of having to reach the top at any cost. Like some of these people, it's like literally at any cost, right? So, but there was one incident that they did a documentary on in the Grand Tetons of a lightning storm that hit a group of climbers and losing a search and rescue person in the middle of it all who was trying to reach them. And I think he fell 1,000 feet or more. It was, yeah, I don't remember when this incident was, but I remember the story of the survivors and the search and rescue personnel. And it was just, I was riveted to the screen the whole time because it was like, oh my God, it was so scary. Have you guys going through stuff like that?
Well, I'm not sure which. There was a movie that was made called Acceptable Risk. And it was about the Jenny Lake Rangers and the history of that particular group, and it featured a rescue that was done in the 1960s on the north face of the Grand. And that's a pretty cool movie to check out. It's called Acceptable Risk. And you may be referring to, and I'm reading between the lines, but there have been a couple of different really significant lightning strike rescues, search and rescue events in Grand Teton National Park, and I was there for both of them.
Wow.
The first one was, I believe it was 7 or 8 people were involved. One person was hit directly, killed instantly. And, people unconscious, not breathing, it was a melee, and it was an intense rescue. And I wasn't on scene, but I was at the lower saddle, right underneath the summit of the Grand, doing air traffic controlling as we were pulling people off the mountain. The second one, 17 people were hit by lightning, ground current on the Grand Teton. One person was, I don't believe hit directly, but the blast was right near them and it blew them off the Grand and they fell to their death like 25 vertical feet. And that was a whole nother, just to give you an idea, I'll just paint the story because I think we have time and shut me down if not, but this is the life of a climbing ranger. It's like a Thursday night. My partner, my neighbor, comes over to my cabin, says, I've got an overdue person in Garnet Canyon. I'm not sure. I'm trying to hold out. What's going on? Subsequently, we find out that a young lady fell to her death. And so me and another ranger, we launch into the night to secure the body and do a death investigation, fly the body out the next day. So I stayed up. I was in the mountains all day. Then I went up and virtually climbed up on the shoulder of the middle after work, stayed up all night, flew out the next day, got back to the rescue cache, and that lightning strike SAR happened. So half of our team was up all night. And so you can see where this went. So then we spent the entire next day. So I stayed up all night, all the way until like 1 o'clock in the morning, doing ground stuff, supporting the people in the field. And then the next day, I was on the body recovery of the young man that got blown off the Grand.
Gosh.
No, that's just, you can't really make that up. You know what I mean?
No.
You can't time the calls. You just can't. I remember those days where you're running.
It's just like I don't really know. I don't know that I've ever been challenged physically and emotionally, maybe ever in my life, over that stretch of like 72 hours. It was just like, it was off the charts, man. But anyway, I'm not sure where I was going to try and diverge us back to, but I guess through these incidents, we learned how to help each other survive emotionally. You know,
Yeah.
you needed time physically to get over them because you're just whooped, you know. But it was through communication and some structured interventions with critical stress debriefing that really helped us to navigate ourselves through those periods of time. And yeah, those are two really incredible rescues, to be honest.
Wow.
I can't believe I was there to actually witness them, you know.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you. You are an amazing human being. And yeah, it is. You have my total respect.
Thank
for
you.
what you do out there for people you don't know.
Yeah.
You know? And that's an amazing quality to have as a human being.
Yeah, but you know what? You guys are doing the same dang thing. You know, you're putting yourself out there right now, trying to create a platform to interface, influence people in a positive, knowledge-based way. And so it's all in the same bucket, you know, and it just means everyone's just using the attributes that they have, you know, or the opportunities that they have to help others. You know, I told you we put one of my best friends, a really close friend, in a body bag. The hardest thing I've ever done. That guy told me, he was like a sage. He said, Darren, what you guys do as Rangers is one of the most compassionate, karmatic things you can do. And that's always stuck with me, you know, especially after, you know, losing him. And I think it speaks to what you guys are doing too. You're trying to create some awareness, some knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really appreciate it. That's why I jumped at the opportunity. It's just like, well, yeah, of course, this is right up my alley. I could speak to your cause, I think.
Yeah.
I'm really curious if there was anybody that you saved that came back and started working in search and rescue. Have you heard of that? I would think that would spur you into doing something like that.
Well, we've definitely, you know, plucked people from the edges of death. No two ways about it. And they've
Right.
come back to thank us. And
Okay.
it's one of the most incredible things to see. It's amazing, you know. I mean, it's one of the most rewarding things. A similar, I guess, this is in that same vein. This is going back quite a few years. I'm not sure how many, but a young man, a young man and his sister, wasn't a young man, he was a teenager, and his sister came into the Jenny Lake Ranger Station when I was on duty, and his sister had smashed her finger in the car door, I think, and asked me if I would, you know, take a look at the finger and bandage it, and you know, and so the family brought the daughter back into this little medic area, and so I had everybody in there, and the young boy was there, and they took a couple of photos of me with the little girl, you know. And that young guy saw me in, well, the tie was he saw me associated with the Wilderness Physical Therapy Educators website, because he's in physical therapy school in Louisiana.
Oh,
Wow.
And then he went back and he read my bio and he's like, Grant Teton, it can't be the same guy. Well, it was a picture of me in his family album.
wow.
Wow.
That's
And
pretty cool.
and I met him recently at an educational seminar in, where were we? Dang it. At this big American Physical Therapy Association meeting. And if you go onto our website, he does a little blog, and he describes it, and it's really cool. And he's like, because he talked to me and he knew I was a PT when he was a kid. He's like, he worked on wildland fire, putting himself through school, and
Wow.
that's the Colleen. That's that kind of full circle thing,
Yeah,
you know.
really.
Oh my goodness, that's really cool.
Yes,
You know?
it is. You never know when you're going to influence somebody.
Yeah,
Something
it's true.
that just sticks with them forever and ever.
It's true.
It's
Yeah.
that's really
That's
something.
awesome.
That
Oh
is
my
really
gosh.
Amazing.
And that just gave me the chills. Like it's like you know, sometimes first responders and even military think, you know, what good am I doing? You know, there are times like you think that, like,
Sure.
what good am I really doing? And there's an example right there.
It just goes
You
to
know.
show, Darren, you're giving back without even knowing it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and you know, a lot of the stuff, it's really cool to see it come back to you.
Exactly.
But I guess it just goes to show us that it's happening all the damn time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just something we create and put out into the ether, you know.
Yeah, I think you know, I have a very good friend, a beautiful woman who always says, "You create, you manifest what you think." So if you're putting all of your hopes and your dreams and your goals into this pot, even though it's you may not get exactly where you think you're going, you're going to achieve greatness if you work. And you work and you work and you work to get there. It may not be greatness like I wanted to be the Olympic dressage rider, right? I never got there, but boy, I had a whole lot of fun trying.
Yeah.
It's very
And I'm
true.
not riding anymore because of the paralysis I had, but I had a whole lot of fun and I'm still rescuing animals. I'm just saying this as an example that you just keep working. The goal lane may change a little bit. That goalpost may move on you a little bit, but you just keep working and moving forward in life. And we wanted to give back to the community because, well, Doc and I were both in the service and Jesse's tied to law enforcement. And it was like, we need to give back to the people who really do put their lives on the line. So
Cool.
I think maybe that's a good thing for our first responders to maybe think about. Have you influenced even a child who's come back to you years later and said, man, I remember when you bandaged my finger or my sister's finger. Those things stick. They stick.
Yeah.
And it's very cool.
Yeah.
And it's not for nothing. What you guys are doing, it's not for nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
I always hear of all chaos, there is light. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's very cool. And Darren, what is the name of your website? So we're going to put it in the description for people to go to.
Okay.
But
It's www.wilderness.pted.com. I'll send you a link from the email that you sent me, and I'm anxious for you guys to take a look at it and see what you think, and
absolutely.
Absolutely.
definitely check out the blog from this young man because it's really cool.
I can't
Absolutely.
wait to see that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess if somebody's in PT or thinking about PT, and I actually know a young man who's in the PT program at ISU right now.
Oh, cool.
So he's one of our coworkers' sons. So
Awesome.
you probably know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. I do know.
Yes, and so getting him spurred in that direction, maybe that may spark something in him.
Uh-huh.
The wilderness part, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's
sure.
something that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
You know? I have a peripheral tie to search and rescue, which is just my old cadaver dog.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I can't do anything at backcountry anymore because of my legs, but still, you know, and working on that and that end of it. And it's funny because I never really processed until we were talking here how much stress search and rescue is under, because the outcome a lot of the time is not good for the people you're looking for.
Well, it depends, I guess, you know.
Right. Well,
but
exposure, all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's hard to process.
Yeah.
You know?
I started, you know, I've been a climber and a mountaineer for a long time. And, you know, life, it's very much a law of averages, you know. and and at some point I had flown in a helicopter or under a helicopter um, many times, and I was just starting to feel like, you know what, I'm it's not that my number's coming up, but
Right.
like I'm gonna play my career to this point, and that's gonna be good for me, you
Yeah.
know. And I honestly, I kind of feel like I escaped, you know, because some of the things we did, I mean, just based on what I told you today, you can start to like imagine some of it. You're going to these places in conditions that you just don't normally do, you know.
Yeah.
And so so at some point, you know, it's like, it's not that I dodged a bullet. I don't mean it that way, but I just was like, you know, enough is enough. I've had enough.
Playing the odds long
Well,
enough. It kind of is, yeah.
You know, I'm really curious, just kind of like one of the last topics we could touch on here, but I'm just really curious about it because I've had my own run-in with them, but bear and moose.
Sure.
I mean, you're dealing with a huge number of grizzlies up there.
Yeah.
And was that ever a problem in any of your rescues?
I mean, I've been chased down a trail by a bull moose, and I mean close proximity, you know, and had to like run into a thicket of trees to save myself. You know, bears. There was a bear mauling in the park in recent time, where, you know, so grizzly bears have penetrated farther south into Grand Teton National Park than they were, you know, years ago in the beginning of my career. But most of the bear stuff really is just about being a regular human, and, you know, using bear spray and common sense and things like that. But it is an issue. You know, it's part of that scene safety, Doc. You know, what is it, an avalanche, or is it a bear that's right over here, or is it a moose, or you know what's part of my scene?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So fascinating discussion. We could have you on here for hours because it is so interesting. And I really think that this is going to give another path to people maybe getting into PT that they haven't thought about. And we're going to really push that in the description and really share this episode.
Cool.
Far and wide. And thank you for sharing some very personal stories, because I know that's hard to do in a public setting. And for giving responders another, like, look, buddy up with somebody else, maybe not on that exact scene, but who share those situations so that you can talk each other through it when you're having those moments.
Yeah.
It's real, and we all deal with it.
That's a good take home, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's good too, because one thing that you and your friend did was you checked in.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. Everybody check in with each other.
Right. We created our own safety net, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But what you can see is, you know, the event happens and everybody goes home. And, you know, and that may be the end of it, you know, and that's really, I'm going to say,
for traumatic situations, that's just the beginning of it.
Yeah.
It may be the end that they share, but that is just the beginning. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Darren, DJ, I've never called you DJ, so Darren, I don't know you as DJ, but thank you so much. Much luck to your program, to your future endeavors. I think what you're doing is phenomenal, and shaping young minds too at ISU. That's a feat in itself anymore. I think that's great. Keep on them, and amazing work. And anything else, Jesse, Doc?
You're welcome. Go ahead, Jess.
No, you go ahead, Doc.
Your wealth of knowledge, your students are absolutely very fortunate to be able to get the information that you have. Your your life and your experiences are amazing. You're a true hero.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
A rarity, that's for sure.
I really
Your
appreciate that.
profession is a rarity. Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us on this episode of The Thin Line, and we will bring another episode to you soon, and we're going to sign off for this evening.
Yep. Oh, I also, sorry guys. We're gonna. We also here at the Thin Line crew want to send our love and our condolences to Tremont, Utah. They unfortunately lost 2 officers, and one is in stable condition as well as a K-9 officer. So our hearts go out to the families, and yeah, it's a tragic, tragic thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, gang. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.